The Golf Channel and the PGA of America present Academy Live.
Hi, and welcome to the show, Academy Live. I'm Kelly Tillman, joined by a couple of veterans and a couple of real pros, Randy Smith and Mike McGetrick. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah. Good to have you back, and tonight we are going to be helping, as I said, well, practically millions of golfers. A lot of people have the slice, and before we start to talk about the causes and the cures, we want to go ahead and let everybody know what the slice is according to Webster's.com. This is the dictionary version of what it is: the course of a ball that curves in the direction of the dominant hand of the player propelling it. As to the right of a right-handed player, that is swing talk delivered by UPS. It's literally what it means in the sports definition of the word, as opposed to, let's say, slicing up some bread or some bananas. Seems right to you. What are the causes of the slice?
Well, there's many causes, and really, when someone slices the golf ball, this club face is open at impact. So what Randy, myself, and other golf professionals are doing, and golfers are trying to identify why is that club face open at impact, and there's a lot of reasons. But, one of the main reasons is really starting right from the grip. If you watch a lot of the average golfers, when they grip the golf club, they grip it too much in the palm of the left hand, and then when they put the right hand on, they don't have the club supported right, and they have a tendency to fan it open, get the club face open. But because of this weak grip, the club face is open at impact. So one of the things I always check is where's the club face at address, making sure it's square, and then getting the club gripped in the fingers of the left hand underneath the heel pad, and getting this left hand turned slightly to the right, where if you look at this V and index finger of my left thumb, it's pointing up to my right shoulder right here. So getting the club grip properly is probably number one, checking that, and then going from there.
Some people may look at that grip and think it's a little strong with that V pointing to your right shoulder if you're a right-handed golfer. Show me what strong is if that's not it.
Well, strong, it's slightly strong, but this isn't an over-exaggeration of a strong grip where I have it right here, and then obviously putting the right hand under right here. And sometimes, as a drill, it's not a bad way to grip the club, just learning how to hit some hooks with this and then start to neutralize it just a little bit.
I thought that was a regular grip. Do that again.
That looks like your grip.
You've been watching Paul Azinger play a lot of golf, Randy.
Well, Mike, put your hand back on in the weak position where it's up in the palm. And this is another thing, too. Normally the slices we see, and the left-right ball curve is always weak, isn't it?
Right.
It just doesn't look very good. Put the weak grip back on through the palm. The wrist right here doesn't have a chance to really hinge properly when it's in that position. And Mike, when you take it over to the other side, to a little stronger grip, all right, now then when he goes away, this club has a chance to hinge in a proper fashion. Thus, you have some power involved to it, much less curing the ball fly.
Yeah, creating some more leverage in the golf swing.
You bet.
These open club face situations, are these things that can be cured at setup? Or, do you come across the occasional golfer who might lose control of the club and it happens somewhere during the course of the swing?
Well, great question. It's what I look at is there's setup faults that cause slices, there's backswing faults that cause slices, and then there's forward swing. So once again, trying to identify what in the setup is causing the slice. If there's nothing in the setup, is there something the golfer's doing in the backswing to create it, or something in the forward swing? So kind of going through that process and identifying it.
Randy, do you think it's okay to play a slice? When does a fade become a slice? What's the line? Where are we crossing?
Well, I think each individual, it's a lot different for them, because some people can play a big fade. Now, Bruce Litsky's won a lot of money playing the ball left to right, and that's the only ball curve he even cares about hitting because it works for him. But for the average player that's out there, the tendency, if they do open up and try to curve the ball, normally they don't have the skills to really work it on a line that doesn't curve as much. As far as what the line is, it's what you can bite off, and your golf scores and the way you play the course will tell you that.
When you say there are different places where a slice may occur, show me some of the backswing flaws that may bring on a slice. Can you demonstrate for me?
Yeah, so when it's setting up to the golf ball, if the student has a pretty good setup, one of the couple of faults we'll watch from this down the line view is, number one, the golfer has a tendency to fan the golf club open where the shaft gets a little bit too much behind their body. Club face is open, then they have the tendency to lift the club, and then from this position they have a tendency to be a little steep coming down, so at impact this club face is going to be a little bit open. So really more cause because of the path going back and the path coming down. Another common fault that we see in the backswing is lifting the golf club. So on the backswing, swinging the club above the plane, getting it in an upright position, and then obviously coming steep down, because usually the way they go up is the way they come down. Now, if they're a little more experienced, they might reroute that golf club a little bit and get it to shallow out on the forward swing. So that's probably two of the errors I see in the backswing.
What would be the first thing that you would do in that situation, Randy, if you saw someone actually lifting the club up like you showed us in the second one there?
Well,
Where would you go first, with the hands and the arms, or would you start with the body? And
I
have
would
it
go
properly turned?
immediately into the hands in the grip situation, because once again, as we talked about in the grip, if it's up in the palm, this wrist is laying in this position right here, it's awful hard to get a hinge. So the natural thing is to lift and then throw it off behind you. So I want to get something to where this heel pad of the left hand, no matter how strong we go, that heel pad is in a position where you can balance the club. And that will give them a chance to hinge the club up just a little bit better and get on a better path right off the bat.
Would you say that once you adjust someone's grip into what you would call the proper position, does that cure what percentage of the problem?
Well, I'd say a high percentage, because what happens is a lot of times, you know, if you did have the golfer that had the weak grip, we strengthen it. So now on the backswing, they're going to have a little bit more control of this golf club. They might have a tendency to swing it more on plane, have a club face that's a little bit more square than open. And what's going to happen is, hopefully, even if you just change their grip and get the club to square up sooner at impact and get them to start drawing the ball or hitting hooks, it can start to reshape the air in their swing. It might reshape the forward swing, start to shallow them out a little bit. So.
Well, I can't wait to dip into, I know you guys have tons of drills to help stop your slice. We're going to get to those as the show rolls on. We also have plenty more coming your way in this hour as we try to stop your slice. We will have an internet question regarding over the top, and that comes into play with what we like to call maybe a pull shot, and then it starts slicing like crazy. We also have a question as to how Ernie Els has picked up so much yardage as of late, so quickly at that. We will address those topics as the show rolls on. Stay with us. Mike McGetrick and Randy Smith have a lot to tell you. Of course, for the PGA Merchandise Show, which is coming up a little later this week. But right now, we are stopping people's slices. We talked about the causes in the first segment. We want to get now to some medicinal purposes, if you will. Let's try to fix this thing. What are some drills that you guys have?
Well, I think off camera we just agreed on one that probably is the most effective drill in curing a slice, and that's the right side. I call it the right side back, depending upon the student. If I can jump in here, if we're working down the line here. Let's have a ball over here that kind of helps that. You know, it's a real simple drill. It does it does a number of things. Number one, to get the right side back, you preset the shoulders to the right. You've also preset the angle that the golf club's now going to work on, creating a toe-over movement that creates a hook. But the one thing I found that's really been a benefit of the drill, you know, most of those slicers are weak slicers. I mean, they'll get in here and that club is lifted up this way, but if you put them in the right foot back drill or the right side back drill, you'll see a lot more of a turn because the right side's out of the way. They've got freedom to go this direction. And it doesn't take too many shots to get somebody back from the inside path into the golf ball and turning it right to left. And always work off a tee so they don't have that little lift factor in there also. And I think it's been the most effective drill that I've ever used.
Is that the first thing you do? Do you try to teach someone to hook the golf ball if they're a slicer when they come to you?
Absolutely. Right off the bat, I'm going to find any way I can to take that thing that they came to me for. I want to take that away as fast as possible and show them, number one, and gain their confidence that they can work a ball a little bit right to left. And that first hook that occurs, you know, it's like an out-of-body experience for a lot of people. Then you've got some confidence with your student, and they're saying, okay, keep going, let's go. And so you can take a roll from there.
It's an epiphany, if you will. Chime in. What do you think of this drill?
I think it's a great drill. I use it a lot. Go ahead and set up to it, Randy. You know, what I'll do is get them to set up and move the ball position back to about center of the body, and then take both feet and close them up. So turn your right and left and start closing your body up. So now they're in a little bit more of a closed position, and like Randy said, they can make a better turn, and they can now on the forward swing. So Randy, if you go to the top, then as he starts to come down, they can learn and experience how that club can start to swing from inside the target line to square it up. And you know, at first they might start it out to the right a little bit, but and so you're getting them to start it on the right path, and then go ahead and start to get some curvature in the golf ball. It's great drill.
I knew a teacher once, and I won't say his name just to save him any kind of embarrassment, but and it's not embarrassing really. He claimed that he could take anyone who sliced the golf ball and within 3 shots have them hook it. Can you do that? Do you find that happens when you have them hit this ball like this?
Well, I don't know if I'd be quite that brash, depending upon who the student is. But the one thing that you do, you can use this drill, and I've seen it misused. And the one thing that people don't understand is that a slicer is going to do everything in his power to get the ball out of right field if it's a right-handed player. And so that includes pulling the shaft even more. You put them in the drill, and Mike, I know you've seen this, where you get them all the way back in here and say, all right, now here we go, go release it right out here. And the first thing their mind tells them at this point in the swing is that I have to make this club go that way, hit that ball in a straight line. You know, they're doing everything they can to get back out here. And that's the one thing you have to get over. And once they have the okay to hit the ball to the right, start it on the right-hand side, then it becomes an epiphany.
Do you have some swing candy? Do you have a little slice drill that you'd like to share right now?
Sure. You know, like I said earlier, it depends on the individual, but one of the things I like to do is teach golfers how to get in the correct impact position and be able, with just little swings, to hit solid golf shots. So I might show them that here I am in the address position, so I'll go ahead and set up, and then ask them, okay, now go ahead and put yourself into impact position, and I'll start and show them the difference of where my feet are at the address position, where they are at impact, and where my lower body is at the address position, how I've pivoted through in this position, and then show them that how my upper body is back just a little bit, shoulders are square, hands a little forward right here, maybe a flat left wrist and a bent right wrist, and then from there have them just do impact drills where they're going to the top and coming down, and you'd be surprised that how hard this is for a golfer that really doesn't have a concept of impact, but in 5 minutes they can look like an expert of getting there. So now they know where impact is, and then what I'll have them do is take a short iron, maybe a pitching wedge, a 9-iron, grip down an inch, stand an inch closer to it, and just hit little chip shots with a little bit of pivot with your body and learning to hit it right in the center of the club face and hitting relatively straight shots. And then after they've done that, I'm going to have them build the swing a little longer, where maybe they go waist high back and waist high through and start to hit it a little further. So they'll start now with little swings and progressively getting longer. Because really, from about knee high back to knee high through in this hitting area is where we're trying to improve it. So if they can improve it with little swings, they should remember it when they get to the long swing. Because most golfers, if you watch them do a little partial swing and tell them just to go waist high back, waist high through, usually what you'll see is a backswing that's about 3/4 of the way back, if not all the way to the top. And you show them on video, and they're like, I can't believe it. Because they'll tell you, I feel like I'm right here. So now the arms are in a good position to work down closer to their body instead of out. And so having them do that every day, and it really will get rid of a lot of the errors in their golf swing.
I want to tell you what, he said something that's probably one of the biggest pluses of curing a slice. Mike, go back to the part where you were talking about the bottom of the swing and the footwork and the leg work that went with it.
Yeah, so really what I'm teaching is, you know, if you hit a chip shot up around the green, it's more of an upper body, hands, arms, and shoulders. But in the golf swing, it's a combination of your lower body, your upper body, and your hands and arms. So what I'm teaching them is, as they go, there's a little pivot. So you can see my arm swing and my body pivot are working together, and what that does, it allows the club to work down into the ground at impact, and it allows the club to swing on the correct path and be in the right position coming through because I'm using my body. And you see a lot of golfers, what happens is when they come down, they're steep, and so because all the energy and the force of the swing's going down, they hang back on their backside, pull across a little bit of chicken wing, and there's our slice.
Yeah, not the good kind.
Not the good kind at all.
Chicken's good, but not the good chicken wing.
You know, the amazing thing is, how many times have you looked at a slicer, not picking on slicers, because I've been stricken myself on occasion.
We've all done it.
They have no true footwork. They really don't have any footwork. And it's amazing what you can do with just walking through it and creating a little movement there to create a better path through the golf ball.
These are some great tips, and I know you have a couple more in store for us when we come back after a break. Drills, drills, drills coming your way, and in just a little bit, we're going to head out to the range with Randy Smith. He's got a special tip for you on the short grass. Stick around.
Okay. There's a number of things you can do drill-wise, but one thing in particular to pay attention to, and you'll see it work for a lot of people, is watching this left shoulder. A lot of times we see the left shoulder pull out of the shot way too early, puts the club on the outside path, and you see those steep divots and the ball working back from left to right. One thing you can do to really get that out of your system is watch the left shoulder. Restrict it into impact. In other words, when you set up, get the golf club back in a fairly decent position, but when you come down, feel the left shoulder hang just a little bit. Stay back just a little bit longer, allowing those arms to go ahead and pass and go on through the shot. If we get kind of lucky here, we can feel the club turn over through impact, creating a right to left ball curve. It works for a lot of people.
Man's got some game. That's a nice swing you have there. You're working on it.
Had teed up that high.
Yeah, especially after having rotator cuff surgery.
If only we could play golf off of tees, my score would drop by 10 strokes, and I'd be, what, shoot 95? I don't know.
No, I know better.
I have a question for you. You were talking about that drill where you put people in the impact position to let them feel what it's like, footwork and positions. There was a test conducted by some scientists a while back when it came to shooting free throws. And they had 10 people stand on the line for a week and just shoot free throws to practice. And they had 10 people not get on the court at all and just visualize making free throws. Turned out when they had the actual shoot-off, the people who were visualizing made more baskets. By putting someone in an impact position like that, do they naturally start to come around with the other parts of the golf swing just by feeling, just for that one moment, what that is like?
They do, because you'd be surprised, even professional golfers I've worked with and might ask them, show me where impact is, and they're not quite sure conceptually, but you watch them in their golf swing, and if you would stop them right at impact, they're in a great position. So conceptually, if the player or the student can understand where address is and where impact is, and that there's so much difference there, they understand. Now they know where their lower body is, their upper body, their hands and arms, and they're focusing more internally on what they're trying to do. But what happens when you're out on the range hitting golf balls, you're focused more externally. You're hitting the golf ball and forgetting about what's going on inside your body. So I always like to, A, make sure conceptually they can understand it. B, now they can rehearse it to me and show me that they're in that right position, and C, I'll have them hit some golf balls and make sure they can get there. So it's almost like a three-step process.
Beautiful. Well, we want to fire off at least one more drill to cure a slice. Do you have one in your back pocket, Randy?
Well, it's kind of an identification drill. It's not really a drill. It's the way I identify a common ground, so to speak, with a student to find out if they understand what curving something from right to left or this direction is. And the amazing thing is that you can find people that have done other sports. I had a lady the other day, I mean, she's a champion tennis player, marvelous, but she could hit nothing but slices, holds on, balls out in right field. And what we did was just go ahead and rehearse a little topspin forehand shot, literally to the point of a tennis racket out there. And all of a sudden, she started to feel the release in her right arm. She kind of identified with the racket, and I said, all right, now you've got the funniest looking racket you've ever seen in your life. Now let's do the same thing, one-handed. Wow, this is heavy. I said, yeah, hit it further that way. Put both hands on, boom, topspin forehand. First time out because it was a common area. She understood the tennis move. The golf move came easy. Had a guy that threw a discus, honest to goodness truth, in college. You know, I said, you're a discus guy, huh? I said, did your discus go out there and slice from left to right this way? And he said, no. I said, well, show me how you did it. And he went through all the technique. I said, just do the last little spin where the arm comes out. And he just came out of this thing beautifully and did this. And I said, isn't that kind of similar to what the golf club is going to do too? He said, yeah. And then all of a sudden he could identify and start hooking the golf ball. I use stuff like that in other sports or activities to find a common ground. And then once you find that, then you can talk in a term they're more familiar with.
What I'm seeing when you do that is a release of the hands, a natural release of the hands, and also a weight transfer or pivot positions. Are these the two most critical parts of making sure you're not slicing the ball? And feel free to shoot me down.
Not at all. I think those are two of the biggest points. And that natural movement of going forward and around this way has a byproduct that the slice never gave the player. And that byproduct is power. Lots of power. And once a student starts to feel a little bit of power from the new move that they're working on, you can teach them just about anything you want to.
Do you find that most students are ignorant, if you will, for lack of a better word, on where the club face positions should be throughout the course of a golf swing? Do you teach them those positions or give them drills to just make them feel them? How aware should they be?
They should be aware of them to the point where they know when they're making a mistake that it's drastically out of position. I'm not real big on being in perfect positions throughout the golf swing. Right. I like to see a student get close enough for government work. But you need to understand that the golf club, on the way it's built, you can see that the face is going to work this way, and then when it comes back through, it works back through, and it works up the other side. And if they have that simple concept, the amazing thing is, I know you've done this too, you know, to get them to do that, if you ever give it, tight grip, and they go in there, okay, let's see how that works. That doesn't work that way. So how about let's just relax a little bit and let the club kind of swing. There you go. Yeah, it does work that way.
I don't want to start celebrity wars, but do you teach them club face positions? Or do you do what Randy does and just let them govern the work?
A little bit of both. If there's a problem with the club face, how it goes back and coming down, then obviously that student, I'll make them a little bit more aware of that club face. And I like one thing that Randy talked about is grip pressure. You know, you might have somebody with the proper grip, but they're holding this golf club so tight that at impact, it's going to remain open. And one of the specialty shots that I teach is if I want to get somebody to fade the golf ball, tighter grip pressure in both hands, so at impact, you hold off the release of the golf club. So simply by getting them to grip the club a little lighter might cause them to square the club up just a little bit sooner at impact.
All right. Oh, pure nuggets of wisdom. Wow, we're rich in this show, aren't we? And there's plenty more to go. We have to take a break on Academy Live. As we go out, we want to remind you that we have one of the coolest websites in the world, thegolfchannel.com. Log on and email us a question or a comment. We'll take one when we come back about an over-the-top move in the golf swing. We can all relate to that. Welcome back to the show. Swing doctors are in the house, and the internet question is as such. Everyone speaks of coming over the top. Could you please demonstrate this from the backswing all the way to the finish? That comes from Ramsey in California. Mike, take it away.
Yeah, it's a great question. And really, when you hear the term coming over the top, a lot of people ask, what is coming over the top? And really, it's when the golf club, as it swings down, is swinging over the top or across the target line, or you could call it swinging over the plane. Because there's a lot of golfers that are steep on the forward swing, but come down from the inside, but they're steep. So people know is that as they swing down, the club works outside the target line and then across it at impact. But to kind of take you through this down the line view of what the golf club does throughout the swing, as I set up and swing waist high back to the waist high back position, the shaft is parallel to the ground and parallel to my target line. And then as I swing up and around, and at the top of my swing, now the shaft will be parallel to the target line. And when I come down, my arms are working down to a similar position they were in the waist high back position where the shaft is parallel to the ground, returning the shaft back to a similar position as it was at the address position. Then as I go waist high through, it's both parallel to the ground and the target line, and then finishing in a balanced position. So it's a great understanding for golfers, you know, of just learning where this golf club swings throughout the golf swing and just doing some practice swings. Now I go into my impact position, waist high through, and finish. So once again, I have an understanding of where it should be throughout the golf swing.
In the 9 patterns of ball flight, they can go 9 different directions and they come off the club face. The over-the-top / slice move, what are you looking for there?
Well, as far as ball flight goes?
Yeah, it starts left.
Yeah, that's the ball flight that starts left and stays left, or it could start left and have some side spin on it because the club face is open, or it's going to start left and have more draw spin on it and go more left.
When you see one that starts left and is spinning to the right, it's slicing, the first thing you want to fix is the flight of the shot or the direction that the ball is going?
Well, that's a great question because you want to look at, you know, that golfer. I always look at the slice. Is it a club face problem at impact, or is it a path problem, or is it a combination of two? And usually I'll fix the club face first, get the club face to square up, get them to get more hook spin on it, and then from there, they're tired of that ball going to the left, so what they'll start to do is shallow out the forward swing and get the path coming a little bit more from the inside, starting more down the target line, and just turn it into a little bit of draw spin.
The slice is what probably made them line up left in the first place, so by fixing that first, you could probably take care of the second one.
Could be, sure.
Okay, great tip, Mike. We got to open up the phone lines. Let's run up a phone bill nationwide. Caller is Jim from Ohio. How can we help you, Jim?
Doing great, Kelly. How are you doing?
Doing well. What can we do for you?
Gentlemen, I'm glad you're on tonight. Maybe you can help me. I've always had a problem with the slice coming into my swing and ruining my scores. And one of the things I've been working on is releasing the club, but I have a tendency, I think, to flip, and I think it's because my left wrist is weak. I don't mean the grip, my actual wrist. And I was wondering if you can explain to me how if I should have a firm left wrist, and should I keep the back of my wrist going towards the target, or do I let it roll over, and how much do I let it roll over? Thank you.
Randy, I think that's a great question for you.
Dodged that one, didn't you?
This sounds like a Randy Smith special.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, I'd like to have asked Jim when he says he flips, is the ball going left when he flips?
What is the
Jim,
case,
are you
Jim?
still in there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I have a tendency either to give it a quick hook or the big slice comes in. So I'm really erratic.
Okay. Well, what I would say, number one, I would not prohibit your hands from releasing. I don't think I would get in there and make that wrist tighter and try to hold on more, because the more you tighten up and tighten the wrist down, your forearms are going to do the same thing. And once the forearms start to tighten down, you have really no chance at turning the club over or turning the head over through impact. I would stay with a lighter grip pressure. I would feel the hands a lot lighter. I'd even get lighter than what you currently are, so that you can develop a little more speed through impact. And I certainly would let the left hand go more left through impact, not try to make it go right or straight out to the target, because that can cause you some big problems. Just let the left hand release and let it go to the left of your body on the forward side.
Jim, take that tip and run with it, and thanks for calling in. I want to change path slightly. Pardon the pun. We're talking about path all night here. Slices versus fades. How far is someone who slices the golf ball from hitting a controlled fade? They go the same direction in a sense, but it seems like you're dealing with two completely different shots.
You are. Obviously the slice is okay to play with, even though a lot of golfers don't like it. But when it really gets bad, what we start to see is a very high ball flight, a ball flight with a lot of left-to-right spin on it, where really they're giving up a lot of distance in their golf swing. They're losing maybe 1 to 2 clubs in distance. Driver's really not going anywhere, so then it becomes a problem. So a lot of times the fade's okay. Sometimes the slice is okay, but not all the times. But when it becomes a big distance issue, I think it's time to change it.
A lot of tour players choose to play the fade, Randy. You've got Lee Trevino,
Right.
Jack Nicklaus, Ben Hogan, some listed in your book, Fred Couples, just to name a few. You were talking to me earlier about some moves that these guys make at setup. Lee Trevino and Jack Nicklaus actually employ a slightly open stance at setup. We've got some video, and I want you to talk us through it. Let's start with Lee Trevino and how he sets up to the golf ball. We pulled some video from just a few years ago, although the swing hasn't changed for Lee Buck.
Okay, you can see as Lee steps in, there's a lot of action. Okay, now this looks like this is going to start out to be a hook. In fact, this is a hook he's trying to hit right here. Now watch the footwork. There we go. Now he's coming in from the inside, starting it way, way right and drawing it back in. If he was going to hit the fade, and this is for the people that we're addressing tonight, instead of stepping, you saw Lee step with the left foot first, and then the right foot came back to shut the body down to the target line. But Lee, when he would hit a fade, would always step in behind the golf ball, and he preaches. I mean, he beat me over the head with it.
Show it to us right here.
Well, it's down the line.
We can see him dancing a little bit, but
oh yeah.
What are we really looking at?
I mean, if I was a little more spry, I'd do his dance. But as he would get in there, he'd be, he's still talking to Herman, trying to figure out what the distance is. And I don't like that. I want to hit this anyway. You don't know what you're talking about. And he start fidgeting. But when he would get in there, he would look at it, and he'd keep looking. And as he would look, one of the last moves he would make would be to step with the right foot. And what he did, he didn't step to the ball line. He stepped slightly in and back, and then the left foot moved the same amount off the line and back, opening the stance. But what more importantly it did, it moved the ball position up. And with the ball position up, Lee could get over and cover it a lot more to hit that fade. Did it with footwork in alignment with club face.
Now let's take a look at a shot that Jack Nicklaus struck, and he is famous for his fade, taking the left side of the golf course out of play, so to speak, and he's going to set up. He's just laying up a fairway wood here, but notice the hole is to the right, and where he wants to be is between those two bunkers, but he is clearly lined up about 15 to 20 yards left of his target, it looks to me.
You bet, and he's checking that spot out in front of his golf ball where he wants to start at the club will work a little more up and then quickly back across the ball. And I think the thing that makes Jack's swing so efficient there is how good his legs move through the swing. Especially on that shot, you can see how the legs got out of the way. A lot of times, when you're trying to hit a fade like that, like he just did, you leave the left leg in there too long, you're not going to hit a fade. The left side has definitely got to clear, especially in the lower body. Jack was really good on that shot to hit that kind of cut. Left leg was marvelous.
When you're slicing the ball, Mike, how far are you from being able to hit that fade?
Well, that's a great question. It's, once again, seeing how much you're slicing it, and then, you look at these two players with Trevino and with Nicklaus that play the fade. We talked about Fred Couples that play a fade that's more of a power fade that they can hit it a long way. So what we like to do is if they have a lot of slice in their golf swing, get a little bit of it out each day. You know, if they got 20 yards of slice, maybe let's get 5 yards out today or 10 yards and gradually get it out. They didn't get it overnight, so they're not going to lose it or learn it in one day.
Yeah, great.
So,
all right, well, we have to take a quick break, let you guys catch a breather, and when we come back, we're going to do our living room lesson courtesy of Adam's Idea. This week, Michael Lesner offers his swing up for you to judge and pick apart. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Time for our Adam's Idea living room lesson where you receive instruction from the game's best in the comforts of your own couch. And Michael Lisner joins us from New Jersey. He's going to have a lesson with Randy Smith. I'm going to let you guys take it from here. Randy, say hello.
Michael, you there?
I'm here. Thanks, guys.
How are you?
Very well tonight. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Warm up in New Jersey yet?
It's about 15 degrees. Sorry.
That's warming up. It's warming up real well. I think what we're going to do, Michael, I reviewed your tape of one of your swings indoors up there in the snow.
Right.
And I got to looking at a few things, and there's a couple of things that really, there we go, kind of stood out to me. At your setup position, you're really not too bad there, bud. And you're talking about 20-something years of not breaking 100. Well, there may be a couple of simple corrections here. As you go ahead, you can see you've got a pretty strong right hand there.
Right.
Okay, as you go back to the midway back position, I want you to look at something. Did you play football or hockey?
No, I did not.
Okay, so you have no excuse, you have no broken thumb on that hand, right?
Nope.
Okay, you see the blue circle?
Right.
Okay, look at the thumb, it's on top of the shaft there.
Right.
Okay, it was bent and bowed. It was just bowed straight up in the air. Now, as you go back through, that club is already out of your hands because of your hand position right there. You can see you're just holding on to the golf club.
Right.
And when you're holding on, anything can happen. Do a lot of your balls fat and to the right?
Yes, a lot of fat balls.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, as you go on to the finish, we find one other little thing. That club right there, that toe should be probably pointing just a little bit more at your body, and it is pointing almost another direction, which leads me to one small thing that you need to work on that can save you a lot of strokes.
And ta-da, there you are.
Okay. Here's what it is.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, can you see my hands?
Yes, I can.
All right. When you grip the golf club, okay, and you get ready to swing it back, this is what I saw. Okay?
Right.
You see that right thumb?
Right.
It looks a little broken, doesn't it?
Sure it does.
And all we have to do is put that thumb back down on the golf club. Now then, you've gained support of the golf club on the way back.
Give us a little before and after there, Randy.
Okay, here's what Michael was showing.
Okay.
All right. All we did is just take the thumb and lay it back down on the club to where the thumb feels the club. You understand what I'm saying, Michael?
Yes, I do. I got you.
Okay. Once you go up to the top, then you will have support of the golf club. At the top of your swing, it looked like your hands were coming right off the club.
Yeah, I get that feeling all the time, actually.
Okay. By having your hands on the golf club, as you start back down, you're going to gain a lot more confidence. And the dead giveaway on it, bless your heart, it may have been so cold up there that you couldn't do much about it, but when you went through and you got to the final part of your swing, you could see that the club had spun. Just get the thumb back down on the club and improve the grip throughout the swing. Doesn't mean grip it tight, consistent grip pressure, but get your thumb on the golf club.
So you think I have a chance for the senior tour in 4 years?
No, sir. You probably don't.
The Champions Tour, Michael, the Champions Tour.
But what you may do is break 100, and I know that means an awful lot to you.
Sure does. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for calling.
All right, Michael, look, if he gets on the Champions Tour, he gets to be seen on the Golf Channel. What's better than that,
Absolutely.
right? You guys are giving him a lesson on
Home
national
of the
television.
Champions
Home
Tour.
up. Texas teaching a little different than Colorado teaching, Mike.
Yeah,
He's got his own.
just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
A little different accent.
Just a little different accent. He's going to bring out my southern accent. We have to take a break. We'll come back with much more with these two guys. Stick around.
I've got an accent.
Tour Vision is coming up. Ernie Els, why is he hitting it so far? Our instructors have a clue as to why. You won't want to miss it. Ernie Els, number 2 in the world, a perfect 2-0 as the 2003 season begins. He won in Maui, he won at the Sony in Oahu. Here he is, bombing a drive at number 15 at the Mercedes. Mike, what do you like about this swing? Why is he hitting it so far?
You know, one thing I've always admired his swing is the tempo and rhythm, how consistent it is throughout the golf swing, and really it's very effortless power that is just incredible with him.
I heard that he was weakening his grip a little bit to allow the club to release more. One of the many things that he's doing. Here he is at number 10 at the Sony Open, Randy, and this is a long hole.
Well, it is a very long hole.
A par 4. He's driving it.
It's 353 yards long, but the thing that impressed me, that ball carried about 12 yards off the front of the green and didn't have a hot first bounce. I think that the main thing that I'm seeing right there is more aggression, much more aggression under control through the golf ball.
He's obviously trusting his golf swing, Mike McGetrick. We've got him from 1999 on the left, and this is an updated Ernie on the right from the past couple of weeks. What's the difference?
Well, really the difference I see at the address position on the right, that he has a little bit more knee bend, and his body's a little bit more balanced. And you look on the left, the before, little less knee bend. It looks like his weight's more forward to his toes, and he's a little top heavy with his upper body. So that's the one thing I see in the address position.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, you can see it in the lower body. He's much more aggressive, much more powerful.
The big difference I see at the top of the swing, obviously he's done great work with David Ledbetter, but his arm position seems like it's a little bit higher where he's supporting the golf club. You see a little bit more cup in that left wrist. But really his hands and arms and golf club are in a great position to start the forward swing right there.
Much more aggressive underneath. Once again, you can see there's more tilt in the right side on the new swing. The right side picture has a lot more tilt at the top of the swing. He's got more flex in that right leg and right knee as opposed to the swing from 1999.
And Xerox Tour Vision allows us to look at that swing in a little bit of a different way. I know Ernie feels a lot different about it right now. He trusts it completely. In Maui alone, he was averaging 323.4 yards off the tee. No one was sniffing that. At that 15th hole, he hit it some 469 yards, I believe. Was that, Randy? And no tour player got within 32 yards of him on that last day. I mean, that is just an amazing difference.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing is what I think is incredible is he's switched equipment. He's playing Titleist right now and starting out with a good year. But he talked about the new driver, the prototype driver that he's using, and the new golf ball. So he's really matched his swing to his launch conditions, and I know he's on a fitness program too. So really, with those elements right there, he's talked about gaining 10 to 15 yards with his driver and a little bit more with his iron. So it's a big difference.
I wonder if Titleist is considering doubling the price of those golf balls right now after the little 2-0 performance of Ernie Els.
Yeah, I mean, he's right now he's got the momentum and the confidence.
Yeah.
He started out fantastic, and I think you're going to see nothing but great things from him this year.
Thanks for the analysis, guys. Let's take a phone call. Jody from New Jersey, how can we help your game?
Yeah, I seem to have a problem with my slice. I'm trying to get a consistent ball pattern of swinging the club into it. I've been playing it off the left foot, and I'm finding the middle, I'm able to hit the ball with a slight draw and playing the ball back. Now, is that the right swing path I should be on?
Yeah, that's exactly what you should do. What happens is if you get the ball position too far forward in your stance, you have to reach with your arms. And if you look from this down the line view, it causes my shoulders to be open at impact. And really, if you want to hit a fade, that's what I would have you do. Move the ball position forward, get the shoulders open a little bit with this right arms high, so now your arms will swing in the direction your shoulders are pointing, and you'll have a path that'll go a little bit more across it. So what you've done is right. You've moved the ball position slightly back. Keep it a little bit left to center, but now when you set up, because the ball's back, you can square your shoulders up so the right shoulder's back, and from this down the line view, you can see a little bit of my left forearm at the address position. So now I can swing the golf club on the right path on the backswing and then swing it down from inside the target line on the forward swing. So you're doing a great job with that.
That is a simple solution. Randy, why don't you tackle our next call? Chuck from Illinois, how can we help you?
Hi, how are you?
Doing well.
I would like either gentleman to kind of really explain the right hand, right forearm rotation and the set at the top. I seem to have trouble with that, and I either hit a pull or a pull hook, but I've got about 3 different ways I can take the club back, and one is kind of like a hockey stick.
Chuck, we can't help you. Pull and pull hook is next week. No, I'm kidding. All right, go on.
Okay. Can you explain the forearm right forearm rotation and the hand set?
Well, I tell you what, Chuck, I've been so fired up about rotating this thing over for this particular topic. Now it's kind of a change of pace. I think the one thing that you're probably going through, you said something about a hockey, And I think that's one of those instinctive sports that you need to really take a check on because it will help you. Let me kind of show something here, especially on the down the line. The right arm position going back, number one, is probably way too tight. A lot of tension going back away from the golf ball, and I'm just guessing. And when you get to this position, your right arm is now in the way. Your right shoulder really has nowhere to go. And what I think I would do is just totally relax the right arm and the right side so it can go ahead and seat underneath the shaft at the top of your swing. Once you start feeling the club head at that position, I think your rotation will come back in there and you can hit the ball straighter, because what you're describing is a locked up swing out of posture, and from there all you're trying to do is regain the golf club and get it through the ball somehow, and that's going to result in a low left looking thing that you really don't want to see. So I would get the right arm to fold up 90 degrees under the club in a much more relaxed position so you can then feel the golf club at the top of your swing.
You guys have an answer for everything. Would you sit down and take a look at my stock portfolio after the show?
Oh, Lord.
I mean, you're fixing up everything. I need a little help in that department. We got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to wrap things up with Randy and Mike. And on our way to break, I want to remind you, if you'd like